Hi everyone, Shed here. Right now it is Pride Month for the LGBTQ plus community. I am typically not one to celebrate Pride Months, but I do think it is important to be proud of who you are, and that's what I want to try to do with this video. I want to go over my history and my transition from boy to girl. If you did not know, I am transgender, so there's that. But I feel it is important to at least provide insight to you guys about whom I am, but also maybe describe what it's like to feel transgender. So hopefully that might help you in some way, whether it be deciding if you're a transgender or if you know someone who is, and help them understand at least the emotions so you can at least sympathize with them in some way. Anyway, this was originally going to be a Draw My Life video, but that was scrapped because I can't draw and my voice sounded too robotic reading off a script. So I'm going to wing it. So let's start all at the beginning. I was born on August 2nd, 1993 in Auburn, Washington, which is just south of Seattle, Washington. I was premature 2 weeks and I was a young, tiny baby boy. I did have a family, but it was weird because I had two half-siblings, a half-brother and a half-sister from my father's previous marriage, who would stay with us from time to time. It wasn't like a routine sort of thing, like they got him like every few days or something, but it was just like long periods of times, not like long summer periods, but like 2 weeks every 2 months or something like that. Anyway, my sister was born after me soon after, and she was less than a year born after me, so my parents would usually call us Irish twins. If you don't know what that is, it's an insult to Irish people because when they first migrated here in the 1900s, what they did was they would get dirty to get as much children as possible. And as you can tell, it's two siblings born within less than a year apart from each other. Anyway, my mom would usually dress me up in baby girl clothes and give me dolls to play with for some reason. Maybe it's because she truly did want a daughter, but she probably did not know that this would be a precursor to who I am today. Something happened, though, in between my infancy and my childhood, because my father would kidnap me from my mother in February of 1995. It was because he was afraid that she was going to leave him, and he always thought he was a better parent than her. So he thought it would be better for me to go with him. He wanted to take my sister as well, but she was still an infant and needed to be with my mother. So I don't know the exact information. I just know some details about it. I do know what happened, though, was he met a woman who would be his future wife, so third wife, and he would give birth to a baby girl. So I have another half-sister, and I only knew about this existing 4 years ago. So who knows, I might have other half-siblings out there. Anyway, about 6 months after, which was about a week after my second birthday, so I think it was August 8th, 1995, what happened was he dropped me off at a druggist's house because the police were getting super close to him and finding out where he is, and he dropped me off there, and the police caught me, but no one was able to find him, and he was never to be seen again afterwards. However, I was returned to my mom safely, but I feel like this moment in my history was something that shaped me, because I feel like not being close to both parents and always being on the run made me into this socially awkward and anxious person. But after this, I started to grow and develop who I am. I started learning about the world around me. When I was around 5 or 6, though, I could tell something was different with me from the other kids my age. I couldn't place my finger on it at the time, but I knew something was there. Something else, though, that happened was that whenever my sister and I were doing things, we would always have like the same interests. We would always be playing Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Beyblade, Teen Titans, Sailor Moon, Powerpuff Girls, Totally Spies, all of that. We didn't really have a different interest. Like, we were probably more general neutral than anything because we just did what we liked to do. And I think this would help develop me into who I am, because something that happened was that whenever we would roleplay with friends, I would always choose the female characters, and I didn't know why at the time. I just thought it was natural for me, I guess. But I would usually roleplay as Raven from Teen Titans or Sora from Digimon. I just felt it was fitting for me. So there's that. But I always felt that was a crucial part to me developing as someone who I am. And even in video games at this time, I would choose female protagonists if they were available. But my friends would poke fun at me for choosing a female character when I was a boy, obviously. And I sort of stopped doing that until middle school, which is where I finally started coming to terms with who I am. But before we get there, we need to talk about elementary school because that is so fun. Actually, it's probably the better part of my life. In elementary school, I was always the shy and quiet person that kept to themselves, but I would never be afraid to interact with others if they needed help or anything, because I was always the one that got straight A's in school, and people would come to me for help with their homework and stuff. And the thing is, I did not segregate myself from other people, so I would always have friends of both genders, and I would consider it equally, but I preferred to hang out with female friends because I felt that was better for me. I always enjoyed hanging out with them rather than the male friends because and it's not like I hated them, but they just did things that I did not enjoy, which clashed with who I am, as you would soon find out. But something that did happen, though, was for some reason, whenever my female friends had parties or sleepovers, I would always want to go with them, but they would never invite me, and which is understandable for being a boy. But the thing that always hurt me the most was that they would invite my sister, even though they never really interacted with her at all. So it was sort of like a punch to the gut that they would betray me in that way. But it was just difficult to try to process that, and I was always jealous that she got to go over me. So, but something that was like a rude awakening to me was when I walked into a class one day, and I just noticed something was different, and I could not place my finger on it until about a couple weeks later when we started our sex ed courses, and I discovered that the girls were starting their puberty because we only went over an overview of both genders, and then we were segregated into different classes where we would be going over more detail for our own sex. So that just sort of made me feel out of place because I wanted to be with the girls and what they were experiencing. I didn't like what I was hearing or reading about the changes that were going on with the boys. And I always felt out of place because I was always the quiet one and just staying to myself by not interrupting or disrespecting the teacher because I was always taught that. So that might have been why, but I feel like it's more transgender related because all the boys would laugh and snicker at every small sex word that was mentioned by the teacher, and I just never understood why it was funny. So I just had this weird thing that I was just different. But then something happened soon after that. Was a girl came up to me when I was just coming into school and hanging up my backpack, and she said, "Nice stash." And I was horrified at this comment because I was very confused and I was extremely nervous about what was going on. And I have never enjoyed having a mustache or a beard. I just never understood the appeal of having one because the girls would come to me in awe and fawn over me and flirt with me for some reason, and I just never really enjoyed that. And it probably was because of me becoming more going through puberty and adolescence. And then the boys, they were just staring me and envy me because I had a mustache, and I was I never wanted it. I hated it. I did not want this attention, and people just kept coming to me and talking about it and just hammered away about how uncomfortable I am. Anyway, I always hated the comments about how they always call me a manly man because of this. And I just remember one time asking friends of how I could remove it permanently because I did not want it. They thought I was crazy and insane, but when they realized I was serious, they told me to use duct tape to rip out the hair follicles. Even back then, I knew that was a ludicrous idea, and I did not go through with it. Something else that happened around this time, though, was something in 5th grade where we had to carry around sugar babies. I'm sure all of you know what it is. We had to carry a fake baby and care for it, but it was probably different things. Like sometimes it's a bag of flowers, sometimes it's a fruit. So there's different ways to go about it. But I took this a bit differently. So when we first got our babies, we had to draw numbers to pick what our gender is for the baby. I think it was like odds were male and evens were female. So I think I picked up number 16 and was happy because I really wanted a baby girl, and I named her Tess. And I took Tess quite literally because I thought of her as my own flesh and blood, my own child that I could care for and love for. But then something happened. So this was only supposed to be a week-long lesson, and it was really at the end of the lesson. It was the last day. It was a Friday, but we also had an extended recess that day, which is because we usually sometimes get a school reward if we do something important, like break like a certain number for the food drive or something. But I think this one was something entirely different. I think it was for like some fundraiser or something. But I digress. Anyway, I came in from school and we were all carrying our sugar babies and stuff. But someone pushed me, and I don't think it was intentional. I think it was an accident, and I fell down. And I was very afraid about what happened to my sugar baby. So I went to check on Tess, and she had a hole in her, and I could see the sugar spilling out on the floor before me, and I just started to cry. And the thing is, like, it wasn't like an outburst of me crying like that I was hurt, but it was more because of what happened to Tess. And I think they could tell that it was really abnormal for me to cry like this, because like I've cried before if I was hurt or something, and the past one I was like in 1st and 2nd grade, and this one I was just like in shock with tears rolling down my face. And even my teacher was disturbed by this, and they said, it's just a bag of sugar. You're not going to fail this for anything if you accidentally hurt it. Plus, it's going to end in like half an hour. But then one girl said, what are you, a girl now? And everyone laughed at this, and this just made me feel miserable and hopeless. Because I don't think they developed an attachment to the child. I think it was a important moment for me because I've always wanted to have a child of my own. Even back then, like even though I had like sometimes did role plays when I was younger with dolls and stuff, just like having this moment with a sugar baby was like an awakening of my motherly nature, and I just really want to have a child of my own. Which makes it all the more heart-wrenching when you consider that I do not have the correct parts down there, so I could never give birth like a woman. So. Anyway, let's go. After that, though, like the day after, the week after, no one mentioned it ever again, and they never like came up or talked about it. It's like they all just forgot about it over the weekend. So I guess that was a plus, but just like having that experience just made me feel horrible as a parent, even though I wasn't really like a parent, but hopefully some of you understand. But because of this, I just did not like what I was doing. I didn't like the position I was in, so I searched for transgender on the internet, and I searched for sex change on the internet because I did not like it, and I found a page for it, but it was detailing the process of the surgery, which I found interesting until they started showing photorealistic pictures of each process, where they would like snip open the testicles and stuff, and that creeped me out because I don't like any like horror movies or any grotesque things, and this was just grotesque to me, and I just don't like looking at that stuff, so I just stayed away from it. But I do remember seeing transgender continuously mentioned on that page, and I never really searched for it until around 7th grade. And it was just like one random day that I was doing it, and I started looking more into it. And as I was reading the descriptions that I found on the internet, I just felt like I could heavily identify with it. Like, this was what I am, this is who I am. I was born in the wrong body, and that's. But something I wanted to do was look for anything, any sort of movie or TV show I could watch relating to this, just to solidify this fact. And the thing is, back then, I think it was 2006 that this happened. I looked on Wikipedia because they had a page for like media related to blah blah blah, and it says transgender. And the thing is, no one really knew exactly what transgender was at the time, I believe, because a lot of the things, there was 11 options, and most of them were cross-dressing. However, I think there was like 2 that weren't really cross-dressing, but one that stood out to me was Otoboku, or Otome wa Boku ni Koi Shiteru. And I just fell in love with that series. Because now the thing is, it is about cross-dresser, and what it is that it's about Mizuho, who is forced into dressing up as a girl at an all-girls school because his grandfather passed away, and he wanted the child of his daughter to attend this school, but yeah, he was a boy and he tried to pose it. But I just felt I could relate with it in that situation in a weird way, because he's being forced into a situation he does not enjoy, but that's sort of like me in a reverse way, because I'm forced to live as a boy, but I desperately want to live as a girl. So I just enjoyed that, even though it's like some weird sort of philosophy thing. But there were only 6 episodes at the time, so I didn't get to watch it until like much later, and because I didn't know about it, I thought that was the entire series and thought it was just like standalone episodes or something, but it wasn't. But yeah, after this though was something that happened in 8th grade, which would change my life forever. So this was an algebra class, and what happened was a group of kids came up to me, and I knew who they were. Like, I never really interacted with them before, but I knew who they were. And they came up to me and asked, "So, I heard you're into cross-dressing." And I was just like a deer in headlights at this point. I responded with a, "What?" And then they laughed and walked away. However, what would happen after this is that they would start to harass me and make fun of me for the next 2 weeks. Because at the end of those 2 weeks, I stopped going to school entirely. I used to love school. I always loved interacting with people when possible and learning about new things. But that moment, they just killed my drive to go to school entirely. So, I don't know how they found out about it. I have an idea. 2 ideas, in fact. One was that when I was younger, I would always like make fake bets with my sister, because I would desperately want to try to wear her clothes. And I always felt natural wearing those clothes. Even when I was like 6, I would sometimes wear her clothes because I just enjoyed it. But yeah, so I don't know if she mentioned something offhand to these kids, because these were kids in her grade, and my class was like we were the elite, and they were like the no, not elite. We were like average students, and then they were the like bright students from their grade. So I thought maybe she mentioned something to them. I don't know. But the other thing is that a lot of us had like social accounts on MySpace and AIM, so I always used the same username, and what they could have possibly done was that they could have searched for my username or something, because during this time I got really into MMOs and visiting role-playing forums, so I would constantly do that, but I would maintain the same username, but the main difference is that I would always say I was a girl, because I truthfully was a girl on the inside, but this could be considered catfishing at the time, but I thought it was legit. But if these kids found out about it for that way, then that would make sense, because I was just had everything the same, so it'd be easy to track who I am. Anyway, because I missed so much school after this point, my school counselors and people from CPS would constantly visit us, and I don't remember most of the visits, but I do remember one in particular, which was the sort of final one in a way. What happened was my mother and sister, they had to go pick something up or something, so they just left me with my school counselor and two women from CPS. So what happened was, it was just a discussion to just try to get more to the point. It was sort of like trying to get me into like a sort of mind to go back into school. But one thing that they asked, my school counselor asked, was phrased in a way I could not comprehend. And that's something I hate about counselors, is that they would always do this. They would like try to phrase it in a way to make it complex so you would not entirely understand it. And what she was basically trying to ask me was if I was suicidal, because how she phrased it was like, do you have any thoughts about dying or something like that? It's like sort of like, it's not really like that, but it's more, have you had any thoughts of where you would want to die? And my response was, I would want to die and be revived. And he was confused at this, and then after her and the other two women from CPS started pushing me, I finally broke and told them about me being transgender. And after this, it continued on as normal until my mother got home along with my sister. And then all hell broke loose, because what happened was, I don't know why, everything was calm. My school counselor made a big ordeal out of this, saying I was suicidal, I needed psychiatric help. And then one crazy lady from CPS, what she would do was that she came after her and saying, yeah, she needs help. Well, technically it was he, but she needs help. She's crazy. She's a sinner against God. She's going to be going down the wrong path. You need to get her help as soon as possible. And then the other CPS lady was just like taking notes, like she had no care in the world. And then it sort of just like de-escalated onto that. And then the one who was taking notes came up to my mother and said, we'll be in contact with you. We're going to overlook our evidence in our investigation and make a verdict the next time we see you, which would be on May 25th of 2009. So what happened was, I have had friends who were taken in CPS before, and they would always just be separated from their parents, and we would never see them again. And that's what I was fearing, because what I was doing was I was putting my mother through hell, because it was all because of me, because I know that I wasn't going to school, and she was going through all this legal trouble because she had to have gone to the court because of the Becca bill and stuff. And if you don't know what the Becca bill is, it's just like an attendance policy in the state of Washington. But anyway, I just felt bad, and I just knew, like, as time was ticking, I was just going to be putting her through hell, and I was probably not going to see her again. So on May 23rd of 2009, 2 days before, it was a Saturday, it was hot and quite warm, I wrote a 4-page letter to my mother. And in this letter, I detailed all the things that have happened and talked about us being transgender, all the evidence pointing towards it, and how I felt, and the reason why I stopped going to school, and that I love her, and I'm sorry. So, I went to bed after this, after putting it into her room when she was away, and I woke up to find a letter underneath my door, and I still have this letter to this day. It was talking about how she accepted me and will always love me no matter what. Cue the waterworks. I'm trying not to cry with this, but anyway, what happened after that was nothing, because May 25th came around and nothing happened. Apparently, the one sane CPS lady said that the investigation was sort of thrown out because the other CPS lady was going against protocol, because apparently you aren't allowed to harm the child in any way, and if you're trying to, enforce your beliefs onto some child just to get them help, which may actually be making it worse for the child, that's damaging the child mentally. Who would have thought? So since you're trying to get me help for being a sinner, that was illegal. So kudos, you stupid woman. Congrats. But instead, what this woman did was I did confirm with them that like I was transgender and stuff. So what they did was they hooked us up with the Treehouse, which is an organization that helps poor and endangered families to give them stuff like clothes, toys, and access to extracurricular activities such as karate and ballet and stuff. So we used that source. So I was able to get some clothes to live as female, but I did it secretly, not publicly at this time. So that's what happened. Anyway, after this, everything started to go to normal until a few months later when my grandma would pass away. And my grandma was super close to me. Every morning in elementary school, I would always call her and talk to her about my previous day or the previous weekend and just tell her about how I felt and stuff. And it was very encouraging to speak with her that way. But it was just upsetting to know that she had left. Some things that she did, though, that I found irritating was that she would always compliment me on my appearance and my puberty changes. I knew she was doing it with love, but I just felt out of place. But I knew she loved me no matter what. I was afraid that she didn't get to know the real me, but according to my mother, she did. My mother called her the moment she found out I was transgender to ask for help. So there's that. But after this, we would soon move, and I would ask my mom for a name, because after this was like the point where I could actually finally make a step to make process of change. So I would finally start getting access to a therapist. But before that, I asked my mother to give me a new name. This was just before my birthday, and that's when I said, hey, give me a new name. I'll ask you on my birthday. And the reason why I did this was because I always see people talk about how they got their names, which was usually either a gender bent version of the name, so like Daniel and Danielle, or they would just choose a name of their own after like looking through a list and seeing like, Dad, this one fits me. I don't feel like it's appropriate, because I think like when the parent names a child, that's an important moment for them and it describes who they are. So I felt it was only appropriate that my mother got to name me, especially if I was going to be her daughter still, because she still loved me. So I should tell you about how I got my names, because my male name, my boy name, was given to me from my grandfather, my mom's dad. So when it came to picking out the girl name, you can probably guess what happened. She named me after my grandma, the one who passed away previously, and that's where I got Grace. It felt weird, though, being named after someone who just recently died, but I still found it was fitting and appropriate for me, and I am glad I still have that name. After this, though, I did go see my therapist on August 15th of 2010. This would be a huge milestone for me, and I remember this day vividly because we had to stay there for a long time, because she wanted to offer us a full session because we lived all the way out near Mount Rainier, and she was in Seattle, which is about 2 hours away. So we did that, and I remember that day as well because of what happened before then. Before we left, I went to look online, and I found that Iris Online finally launched their teaser site and their forums, and I was posting on there a bit. And when I got home, I was offered a moderator position, so that was pretty cool. But after this, I would slowly make changes to start dressing full time. First, I would just like start wearing clothes like shoes out in public, and then I would add female jeans and then a female top. And when I did like tops with the female jeans, it was more like ambiguous clothes, sort of like just like tees that probably anyone could wear. Anyway, I've only like made the full-time transition presenting as female on, I don't know the exact date, but it was definitely in December of 2010. Before this, though, I had to tell my sister about who I am, and because she still did not know that I was transgender yet, so like this was about a year and a half of her not knowing. So I had to tell her in a letter, and I was surprised with her reaction because she was quite upset that we kept this from her for so long. She thought we were close, and I just always feel bad about that because I would never expect that reaction from her. I thought maybe she would just be more, like casual and cool with it, but I did not expect that. I did reconcile with her, but I always just think about it and feel bad. Anyway, after that, what happens was I would try to make progress to start hormone replacement therapy, which would be in January 2011, but there was a problem with my insurance, so I had to cancel that and postpone it until May. Before this, though, I did start making more steps towards legal change. On February 11th of 2011, I changed my name to Grace Smith, and I'm not going to give you the middle initial because there's a reason for that, and check in 3 weeks. And then I also changed the gender marker on my driver's license in February 26th of 2011, and then I would do some other legal stuff, particularly with Social Security and stuff, around April of 2011. And then May in 2011, I was finally able to visit this doctor to get hormones and start hormone replacement therapy on May 6th of 2011. So it's been 7 years since then. I was originally told I could start it on May 5th. That was the green light date. But that was my grandma's birthday, Cinco de Mayo. So although it'd be fitting, I also felt like I did not want to tarnish that day because it's her day, not mine. So I just felt bad about that. So I just delayed it a day instead of doing that on her. So, so I started that, and then shortly after, in 2013, I started to go back to school to pursue becoming a teacher. I always had this interest in teaching children, and I always enjoyed working with them with the time I had spent with them. So I thought it was befitting, especially since I always, when I mentioned the sugar baby thing and having this motherly nature, I always felt it was befitting for me to do that. And then after that, I would just start making more progress to doing other things that I wanted to do. Because I started coming out of my shell more, because I would always stay home doing my own thing and never venture out. But something I've always wanted to do was attend a convention, so I did that by myself, which was to the shock of my family because they thought I would just chicken out at the last second, but nope, I made the effort to go there. And also wanted to cosplay, and I finally did that in 2015 at SakuraCon. I dressed up as Nico Yazawa, and I was very happy to do that, and I've been doing it ever since. And I've also been doing it for Anime Expo, it seems, since 2016, so that's interesting to know. But it's both big steps for me to travel by myself to places I've never been before, and I think that was helpful for me transitioning because I was more confident in who I am, so I could be confident in what the things I do. So yeah, and I think that's really it. Although it's sort of quick, it's just that's when I started becoming who I am and started behaving like who I am now. And there are still things that I am discontent with my gender, but I do know right now I am taking the steps to go get surgery for gender confirmation. So that's bottom surgery. Right now I'm trying to take the steps, and hopefully I can get an appointment in mid-July. I have to visit my therapist on July 1st to get a letter of recommendation for the surgeon, and then I leave on a plane soon after that, so I can't make it soon, so I have to do it sometimes after that, and hopefully I can get something done as soon as possible. But I know I'd have to do it sometime probably in the summer of 2019, because I do have to stick with my plans for school, because I do not want to take time off for surgery, because it's a large surgery. You're going to need to take time for you to fully recover, which they say is about 6 to 12 weeks depending on the body. So it can vary from person to person, but it's usually more like 8 to 12. But some people do recover quickly if they have the good restoration genes or regeneration genes. But yeah, that's it really. but technically there is one more thing. Back in 2011, I believe, what happened was I was taking hormones. It was like soon after I started to get my hormones, I would start dressing up and stuff, but I was told for this one occasion to just dress up as male, and then let my family just speak with the male pronouns. And what happened was we were going out to Old Country Buffet to eat with my other grandparents from my father's side. And so my family never stuck with the plan. So the plan was, like I said, to just use my original pronouns, so he, him, and then my male name. But I guess they were already too adjusted. They kept using Grace and she and her and stuff, and I just got tired of it. So I just stood up and walked out of the restaurant and just sat in the car until they were done, because I was just so irritated that they would, stray from the plan. But I've always regretted that day, because I could just blame it on the hormones or something, but it was my fault. I should have just kept myself under pressure, because my mom and my stepmom from the half siblings, they did not want me to tell the grandparents about it, because they thought they wouldn't take it well, because they're mostly conservative. But I've always felt bad about that day, and I know it was my fault. I should have just stayed cool, let them deal with it, and if something slipped, just let it happen. But no, I had to leave because I did not want to deal with it any longer. So, come back to 3 days ago. What happened was, I guess technically it's more like 6 days ago. What happened was I wrote a letter and sent it on, I was writing it for like 2 days till I was sure that I needed to send it. So I sent it on Monday, June 25th, and I waited and waited. I was telling them about who I am, and I just couldn't hold it in any longer, because every time I got a card for a birthday or Christmas or some other holiday, I would always just feel guilty. And since my other siblings and my family get cards from them as well, June is one of them, I just couldn't deal with it, because every time I hear the name mentioned, I just always get emotional about that day, because I just feel like I should not have done that. Anyway, so I just got tired of it and just wrote them a letter and sent it to them. And then I got a response back on Wednesday, a couple days later, saying that they had no idea about it, and that they don't remember much about the day, and that I should not be worried about the day as much as I am. Okay, trying not to tear up. But they said they would accept me and love me, and yeah, I just stopped it there, because I don't want to cry anymore. Okay, so I hope y'all enjoyed this. Happy Pride Day, Happy Pride Month, or whatever. But yeah, I'll just continue to say it. They said they accepted me as their granddaughter and can't wait to see me, because I did not send a photo and said I would come visit them after Anime Expo. So there's that. But I just want to make this quick video. That's 40 minutes long, apparently. I hope you enjoyed this, and hope this shows you a bit more about me and what it's like to be transgender, because it's definitely not fun. So yeah. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you for watching Anime Expo in a couple days. Expect vlogs from that, even though I still have SoccerCon vlog that's done, but I haven't uploaded for some reason because I'm effing lazy. Thank you. Bye bye. Ta-ta for now.